Welcome to our countdown of the top hijacked stories in the history of the world. From acts of terrorism to daring heists, the events we're about to revisit have captivated the world's attention and left lasting impacts on our lives. These events have left an indelible mark on history and continue to fascinate us to this day. Join me as we delve into the details of these hijackings, exploring the motivations of those involved, the consequences of their actions, and the lessons learned along the way. On a crisp, clear September morning, the world watched in horror as terrorism struck the very heart of America. Four commercial airliners, symbols of modern travel and interconnectedness, were transformed into weapons of mass destruction. American Airlines Flight 11, en route from Boston to Los Angeles, was the first to deviate from its course, crashing into the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City at 8:46 a.m. The impact, a gaping wound in the side of the iconic skyscraper, sent shockwaves through the city and beyond. As smoke and debris billowed from the upper floors, news crews scrambled to document the unfolding disaster, broadcasting images that would forever be seared into our collective memory. Less than 20 minutes later, at 9:03 a.m., United Airlines Flight 175, also originating from Boston and destined for Los Angeles, slammed into the South Tower of the World Trade Center. This time, with cameras already trained on the ravaged skyline, the world witnessed the impact in real time. The force of the collision, even greater than the first, ignited a raging inferno that consumed the upper floors. It became horrifyingly clear that this was no mere accident. America was under attack. While the world grappled with the unfolding events in New York City, a third plane, American Airlines Flight 77, was hurtling towards its target in Washington, D.C. At 9:37 a.m., the aircraft, which had taken off from Dulles International Airport bound for Los Angeles, crashed into the west side of the Pentagon. The impact, a thunderous roar that shook the ground for miles, caused a massive section of the building to collapse. As smoke billowed from the Pentagon, firefighters and rescue workers raced to the scene, facing a scene of unimaginable devastation. The fourth and final plane involved in the 9/11 attacks was United Airlines Flight 93, which departed from Newark International Airport en route to San Francisco. At 10:03 a.m., after a delay of over 40 minutes, the plane crashed into a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. The delay, a result of the passengers and crew learning about the fate of the other hijacked aircraft, proved crucial. A group of courageous passengers and crew members fought back against the hijackers, preventing the plane from reaching its intended target, believed to be either the U.S. Capitol building or the White House in Washington, D.C. Their bravery, a testament to the indomitable human spirit, came at the ultimate price, but undoubtedly saved countless lives. On June 27, 1976, Air France Flight 139, en route from Tel Aviv to Paris, took off from Ben Gurion International Airport carrying 248 passengers and a crew of 12. The flight, a routine journey connecting Europe and the Middle East, was about to become anything but ordinary. As the aircraft made a scheduled stopover at Athens Ellinikon International Airport, a group of 4 hijackers boarded the plane. 2 Palestinians from the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, PFLP, and 2 Germans from the German Revolutionary Cells, RZ. Armed with pistols and grenades, the hijackers seized control of the aircraft shortly after takeoff from Athens. The hijackers diverted the plane to Libya, where they refueled and released a single hostage. It became chillingly clear that this was no ordinary hijacking. The stakes were far higher. The hijackers' demands were audacious. The release of 53 Palestinian and pro-Palestinian militants imprisoned in Israel and other countries, along with a $5 million ransom. The world watched with bated breath as the hijacked plane, now a pawn in a high-stakes political game, landed at Entebbe Airport in Uganda. The situation at Entebbe Airport was tense. The hijackers, growing increasingly agitated, threatened to kill the hostages if their demands were not met. The Israeli government, faced with an agonizing dilemma, refused to negotiate with terrorists, fearing that doing so would only encourage future attacks. They knew they had to act swiftly and decisively. In the face of overwhelming odds, the Israeli government authorized a daring rescue mission codenamed Operation Thunderbolt, later renamed Operation Jonathan, in honor of the commander of the operation, Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Netanyahu, who was killed during the raid. The operation, a testament to Israel's unwavering commitment to protecting its citizens, involved a complex plan to fly over 1,000 miles to Uganda, rescue the hostages and return to Israel. On the night of July 4, 1976, 4 Israeli Air Force C-130 Hercules transport planes carrying 100 elite commandos from the Sayeret Matkal and paratroopers units stealthily approached Entebbe Airport. The commandos, disguised as Ugandan soldiers and traveling in a black Mercedes limousine similar to Ugandan President Idi Amin's vehicle, infiltrated the airport, catching the hijackers and Ugandan guards by surprise. Chapter 3. Against the Tide, the Maersk, Alabama hijacking. In the vast, unforgiving expanse of the Indian Ocean, where shipping lanes stretch across thousands of miles, the Maersk, Alabama, a 199-meter-long cargo ship sailing under the American flag, became a symbol of vulnerability in the face of modern-day piracy. On April 8, 2009, while on a routine voyage from Salalah, Oman to Mombasa, Kenya, the ship, carrying 17 American crew members and a cargo of food aid destined for Somalia, was approached by 4 Somali pirates in a small fiberglass skiff. The pirates, armed with AK-47 assault rifles and RPGs, were no match for the sheer size and power of the Maersk, Alabama, but what they lacked in firepower they made up for in audacity and ruthlessness. They had meticulously planned their attack, exploiting the vastness of the ocean and the vulnerability of ships transiting this vital shipping route. The pirates managed to board the vessel after a brief firefight, taking Captain Richard Phillips and a skeleton crew hostage. The remaining crew members, led by Chief Engineer Mike Wright, took refuge in the ship's secure engine room, disabling the vessel and effectively turning the tables on their captors. The pirates, now trapped aboard the very ship they had intended to hijack, found themselves in a precarious standoff with the U.S. Navy. News of the hijacking reached the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet, responsible for patrolling the waters off the coast of Somalia. Within hours, the guided missile destroyer USS Bainbridge, armed with Tomahawk cruise missiles and a complement of SH-60 Seahawk helicopters, was dispatched to the scene. The Bainbridge was joined by the frigate USS Halliburton, further bolstering the naval presence in the region. As the standoff entered its second day, negotiations between the pirates and the U.S. Navy, conducted via satellite phone, grew increasingly tense. The pirates, desperate for a way out, demanded a hefty ransom and safe passage back to Somalia. The U.S. Navy, operating under a strict policy of not negotiating with terrorists, refused to yield. Chapter 4. Enigma in the Clouds, the D.B. Cooper hijacking. On the evening of November 24, 1971, a nondescript man using the alias Dan Cooper, later misidentified as D.B. Cooper, boarded Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 in Portland, Oregon, bound for Seattle, Washington. He was a man shrouded in mystery, his true identity and motives lost to time, becoming the subject of endless speculation and intrigue. Cooper, described as a man in his mid-40s, wearing a business suit, sunglasses and carrying a briefcase, settled into his seat in the rear of the Boeing 727 aircraft, amidst unsuspecting passengers preparing for a short flight. Shortly after takeoff, Cooper passed a note to a flight attendant, claiming to have a bomb in his briefcase. The note, scrawled on a piece of paper, contained a chilling message. "I have a bomb in my briefcase. I will use it if necessary. I want you to sit next to me. You're being hijacked." The flight attendant, startled but remarkably composed, followed Cooper's instructions, relaying his demands to the cockpit. Cooper's demands were precise and audacious. $200,000 in unmarked $20 bills, 4 parachutes, 2 primary and 2 reserve, and a refueling truck standing by upon arrival in Seattle. The pilot, Captain William Scott, contacted air traffic control in Seattle, informing them of the hijacking and relaying Cooper's demands. The FBI was immediately notified, and a plan was set in motion to apprehend the hijacker. Upon landing at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, Cooper allowed the passengers and some of the crew to disembark in exchange for the $200,000 ransom and the parachutes. With the ransom secured, Cooper instructed the remaining crew to fly the aircraft to Mexico City, with a refueling stop in Reno, Nevada. As the Boeing 727 took off from Seattle with Cooper and the remaining crew members on board, the FBI scrambled to track the aircraft and develop a plan to apprehend the daring hijacker. Under the cover of darkness, as the Boeing 727 flew southeast towards Reno, Cooper, with the ransom money strapped to his body and equipped with one of the parachutes, instructed the crew to continue flying towards Mexico City. Then, in a move that would forever cement his place in criminal law, Cooper lowered the aft air stair of the aircraft and jumped out into the cold, rainy night, vanishing into the wilderness below, never to be seen or heard from again. Chapter 5. The Legacy of TWA Flight 847. On a sunny Friday, June 14, 1985, TWA Flight 847, a Boeing 727 carrying 145 passengers and crew members, departed from Athens International Airport in Greece, destined for Rome, Italy, the first leg of a routine transatlantic flight. The passengers, a mix of American tourists eager to explore the historical wonders of Europe and seasoned travelers returning home, settled into their seats, unaware of the harrowing ordeal that awaited them. Shortly after takeoff, as the aircraft climbed to its cruising altitude, two Lebanese men, armed with grenades and pistols, stormed the cockpit, their faces contorted with rage. They were members of Hezbollah, a Shia Islamist militant group based in Lebanon, driven by a thirst for vengeance and a desire to strike fear into the heart of the West. The hijackers, shouting in Arabic and broken English, herded the passengers and crew to the rear of the aircraft, threatening to blow up the plane if their demands were not met. They demanded the release of hundreds of Lebanese Shiite Muslims held prisoner in Israel, a consequence of the ongoing conflict in the Middle East that had spilled over onto the international stage. The hijackers forced the pilots to divert the aircraft to Beirut, Lebanon, a city scarred by years of civil war and a stronghold of Hezbollah. The hijacking of TWA Flight 847, broadcast on news channels worldwide, became a symbol of the escalating tensions in the Middle East, a stark reminder of the human cost of political and religious conflict. Over the next 17 days, the hijacked Boeing 727 transformed into a pawn in a high-stakes geopolitical chess match, crisscrossed the Mediterranean Sea, landing in Beirut, Algiers, and back to Beirut again, as the hijackers, growing increasingly agitated and unpredictable, negotiated with authorities. During the harrowing ordeal, the hostages endured psychological torture, living in constant fear for their lives, their fate hanging precariously in the balance. The hijackers, fueled by rage and desperation, singled out some passengers for particularly brutal treatment. These hijackings, etched in our collective memory, serve as stark reminders of the vulnerability of human life, the fragility of peace, and the ever-present threat of those who seek to sow chaos and destruction. These hijackings have not only shaped history, but also changed the way we approach security and safety in the modern world. The implementation of stricter airport security measures, the development of counter-terrorism units, and the international cooperation to combat terrorism are just a few examples of the legacies born from these tragic events. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more intriguing historical insights.